All right, everybody, welcome back to another podcast here with Crit Hit Wild. Today I am hosting. This is Brandon, and being joined today by Fred and Brad. Uh, what? Don't talk during my introduction, Brad. All right, this is me. Me time. You listen. Fred talks for everybody who's not the host when I ask that question. It's not that question yet. Anyway, Jared hates us still and left us again. Um, how's everybody doing?
Great, we're doing great.
This is not where
Fred
you
has
talk.
Fred has a turtle.
Fred does have a
I
turtle.
have a turtle. There's a turtle in my backyard, and I'm watching him.
Brandon, have you
I'm
not
having a
picked
good.
up on the joke yet?
I understand what's happening. I just don't like it.
Every time you host, I make sure I speak before Fred.
But that takes
I don't mind.
away Fred's thunder. We can't. The
I'm fine.
people, the
I'm fine.
people love Fred.
No, they don't. The people don't know me.
That's a lie.
How's it going there, Brandon?
I feel like half our listeners know you at a minimum.
I think you're probably. I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean it feels.
I think you're probably right.
We do personally know a lot of our listeners, except we know now that Aaron doesn't listen,
Yeah, he kind of threw us under the bus on that one. He doesn't care for us like I thought he did.
Well,
But
jeez.
right? I guess every time he says he loves us, he's just lying.
yeah, what else? I mean, what else could he be lying about? Like all these lies are they're too much for me to handle.
Maybe Richard isn't really his first name.
Maybe he doesn't. No, he definitely does. We don't have to worry about that one. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 7 days. But
Yeah. Just to lift the veil, we normally record these on Thursdays. And of course, the main news day for MCP that Atomic Mass Games tends to have is Friday. So, in between when we recorded our last episode and our last episode came out, they dropped a big old nuclear bomb.
That's okay though.
A lot of
'Cause
stuff
it was
happened.
it was big enough that we probably needed to process it a bit.
That is true. That is true. It, it, we it, Cooler heads have started to prevail. So
Speak for
let's
yourself.
discuss what occurred. Let's just start off discussing what occurred last Friday, and that is that they have started a card
They have
rotation.
unbanned everything.
They made multiple formats for the game.
And one of those formats has no banned cards, no restricted cards. Play
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
sure
we had
that
to.
format's gonna thrive.
I don't think we had to spend a lot of time on that. That feels, to me at least, that was a huge cop out because they knew there'd be some backlash for rotation. So they were like, "Well, here's this, and you can do whatever you want there. Good luck, have fun." I
Except, Brandon, except for you, pretty much every person I've heard talk about it has been enthusiastic about this change.
enthusiastic about this change. Do you read the Discord at all?
Our Discord?
Yeah, like on any MCP Discord, there's people freaking out,
read
losing their head. Yeah, 90% of the people in our Discord were having a panic attack.
They had a little bit of adjustment.
Did you not listen? Did you not hear Andrew talk at all yesterday?
Wow, okay.
Michael's still
Well,
talking about it. I'm just going to throw everybody out there.
Andrew,
Let's
definitely
clarify. Let's clarify what we're discussing.
People who actually play the game are enthusiastic about it.
I feel like accepting is
I
more
don't-
of a proper word than enthusiastic.
Yeah, I don't think we don't have to take a poll of how everyone feels about this. This is where we are at as a game. So let's discuss it. Let's talk about what's happened.
Alright.
So a lot of the major cards that people use are no longer going to be available. Like, do you have a list
I
available,
do.
Brett?
The cards you are talking about from that list are things like Bitter Rivals, Blind Obsession, climbing gear, probably extreme conditioning, field dressing, med pack.
These are a lot of the previously
Tactical
restricted
analysis.
cards have become banned. I think that
Not banned.
what this
They rotated out of standard.
okay, they rotated out of standard. Yes. And I think that what this looks like to me is they're trying to control card bloat. You know, there's a power creep that happens, and when there are certain cards that everyone always has, like say everyone has Medpack, because Medpack is broadly and exceptionally useful. They want to make space for more cards in a game where there's a very limited number of cards that you're allowed to bring. And in order to make space...
And also, cards aren't the focus of the game, the characters are.
Right. And if every list has 1/5 of the tactics cards are med pack, then I don't think that that's a bad thing, but it definitely is a less interesting thing than if everyone has 5 completely different cards.
There are also a bunch of cards that rotate out that very few people were using. The rest of the list, Acute Senses, all you've got was already banned. Battle Lust, a Drop Off was already banned. Heavy Ordnance, Hired Muscle was already banned. No Escape, Reversal, Rocket Boots, Seeing Red, Unearthly Rage, and Web Barrier. I want to note that some lists have Grievous Wounds on here, but that got reprinted in Omega Red, and it's perfectly legal.
So what is everyone's take on this? My take is that I'm kind of glad that they did this, if I'm to be perfectly honest. I also don't have very good takes usually, but this is something that I think that everyone who's been watching this game develop knew was going to happen eventually.
They said from the beginning it was going to happen.
Right. And so this is something that, and it's going to be an adjustment period. But that's something that we can do. And there are certain lists that are not going to work the same way. But that's the game that we're playing now. We're playing a different style of game now. Am I coming off as a little bit too judgmental? I am happy. I'm not. I don't know where I am. Someone else talk. I'm not good at building sentences.
I kind of was just gonna let you walk yourself into like a hole. Was kind of my plan there. So
I think I just did.
This is good for the game.
Yes.
That they can do this. They can just reprint whichever card they want to keep and get rid of cards that lead to bad experiences. I think it's great.
Let's talk about Bitter Rivals. I feel like that card was just way too powerful for what it was.
It was a pretty good card.
It was a very good card.
Okay. I think going through the list, as usually the person who does the most like weird research of this podcast group, it's just kind of like to ease my mind. I think there was a glaring flaw on almost every card that got banned. Even some of the ones that didn't see play had really weird wording and weird kind of like interactions and stuff like that. I think what you're going to see, I don't think you're going to see many cards reprinted. I actually have came to the conclusion that I think this is actually going to be more of a permanent I think there's going to be a rotation, but I do think this specific rotation is going to be very much semi-permanent. I think what you're going to see are fixed versions of the cards. Or more like we got with Shield, where we're already kind of getting affiliated versions of some of these restricted cards, or formerly restricted cards, now banned cards. Like Bitter Rivals should have some sort of restriction on where that enemy character is. The fact that you can play it on someone that's nowhere near the people spending power is just not something the game feels like the game ever intended. I don't know if there's not many other cards in the game that's the way they work. Um, and then you have like field dressing, which kind of leads to feel bad plays where you can just pay for it, revive a character, immediately activate that character. Then you can med pack them, you can heal them, you can do all this stuff. If they have healing factor now, all of a sudden, I mean, I played a game where I med packed, or I field dressing X23, attack twice. I used the builder attack or like the extra attack, um, and then used the scenario to heal one, and then healing factor two. Now all of a sudden she had like no damage on her. It just leads to a lot of feel bad plays. But a field dressing where when you activate the character, you have to be during this character. If it just said that during this character's activation, um, you can do the exact same rest of the card. Then you give the opponent,
chance to react.
Yeah, an activation to just be like, all right, deal damage, and then move on. And there are obviously plays. Go ahead.
And when I said like they can reprint cards, I meant like the next set to rotate might be the X-Men set with the little X in the bottom corner, but they will just put out a card pack full of the cards they want to keep from that set, and then say, "Oh, now the X-Men symbol's gone, can't use it."
Yeah.
So just out of a wave of cards, they can pick what they want to keep, reprint them, and throw away the rest.
Yeah, I don't. That seems interesting scenario.
That card pack has the year on it for a reason, Brandon.
I know. I'm not saying like it's just. I do not like rotations in any game that I play. I play a lot of card games. I play a lot of the what are called eternal formats in those games. I do enjoy non-rotating formats. But
a non-rotating format.
Yeah, I also think
It's
that
a trash format that no one's going to.
it's not, and that's the thing is, it's not. That's the thing is, it's not a format. It's just kind of like it's like we're just gonna acknowledge that if you want, you can play kitchen table. That's what that is. That's all that is. That is nothing more than we're gonna give people an excuse to play kitchen table if they want to.
Right. I agree with you, Brandon. And to your earlier point, I think that no one likes when there's like a rotation like this, but it's good for the health of the game. I think it lets them clean up some of the stuff that they've done previously.
Okay.
You can do that same thing by just having an extensive restricted and ban list. My biggest beef with this is the fact that now we have two banned extracts, and extracts were already weak, and
that's a good time to talk about the new banned and restricted list, which we haven't done yet. So there are two banned cards. They're both scenarios. It's Mystic Wakandan Herbs and Panic Grip City. And then the restricted list is the Reality Gem, the Space Gem, Advanced R&D, Brace for Impact, Disarm, Indomitable, Patch Up, Sacrifice. Okay, Brandon, go ahead.
It drives me crazy that there are now 9 playable extracts, and I think most people can agree that extracts for the most part seem to be the same 4 that see the play. And if I have to play Spider Infected Invade Manhattan one more time, I may just blow my brains out. Like
one of the reasons why that's one of the ones that's all played very often is because it came in the starter pack and everyone has it. And meanwhile, there are quite a few.
It's it's also 5 extracts, and you can only hold one of them.
Yeah, that's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
It's all the. I think that part of the reason why they banned Wakandan herbs is because there were people were ways um, to score it round one. Or very early. They were trying to
Well, Cotton
kit
Arms was
batch
poorly
list.
designed.
Well, yes, I agree.
Everything
I
about
think
that
Well,
was
they
poorly designed. Same thing with Deadly Legacy viruses before it got errated. It was very poorly designed. It's just like, I don't. Even looking at it, it's just like, no one plays Senators. Like, I mean, people. I mean, you play Scrolls. I get. I mean, not really. When was the last time you played against Scrolls Infiltrate World Leadership?
not
Yeah.
that long ago.
I mean, like, I can't remember the last time I played it. Like, honestly, I can't remember the last time I've even seen it. Like, I feel like it's always just spider infected, hammers or fear groups where the world is worthy to terrorize the city. I feel like the one affiliation that plays different is like Criminal Syndicate plays the weird ones. Like Criminal Syndicate plays like Alien Ship. They play
Research station.
Research Station. Some of the other ones, but then it's like, I mean, cubes see decent amount of play, but like there's no variety. Like most of these extracts are like 17. Like,
You might be. I think that there's something to what you're saying, in that the extracts tend to be kind of uh, one-dimensional,
I don't
and
think that is an extract problem. I think that is a scenario problem on both sides.
I also think that that's something that they can come up with new ideas. Like
Yeah.
that is something that we don't know what they're working on. They might have different thoughts.
I mean, there's just a
They
lot
we
more
don't know what's in the
variety
pipe.
of numbers on secures than there are extracts. Like, you have two 16 for secures. You have two 16s, three 17s, two 18s, two 19s, two 20s, and a 14 and a 15. And then for extracts, you have a 20, a 19, an 18, a 14, a 16, and then four 17s. So if you
Yep.
want to play a specific point level, unless it's 17, you literally are kind of screwed on extracts. Like, I just looking at it, like, it's just not a good variety. Like, and honestly, the 17s, I mean, like, they're not bad, like, but like Scrolls is whatever, and then it's just you have Spider Infected, which you guys have seen my opinion on that. And then like cubes, I do like cubes, or don't mind cubes. I think we're gonna see a whole lot more Montesi formula than we ever did before. Um, and I don't have a problem with that. I think Montesi formulas is a pretty cool one that didn't see enough play before. But like, I mean, Senators. I mean, people don't, like. When was the last time you played Senators? Can you,
Not that long
Fred?
ago.
Can you tell me what Senators does?
Yeah, it's 3 safe houses, and one of them has the senator in it, and there's one senator for the board.
Okay,
And
and what happens when
basically,
you're
you
holding
have
the
to have
Senator?
specific tokens. What?
What happens when you're holding the Senator?
You have one less defense, and uh, you
That's
gain
it, I
two.
think.
You gain 2 victory points.
Yeah.
You move small and you roll one less dice on defense and dodge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I
like,
mean,
which is fine. It's just
I
like
have
there's so,
played it.
yeah, but there's just so much. Like all the extracts too seem like really complicated that are left. Like we don't have anything. Like you have your core, which has a lot going on. Like Deadly Legacy Viruses also has a ton going on. Like honestly, hammers is like the least going on. It's just like, hey, pick up a hammer. You got to pay an additional power, but you get to roll an extra attack dice. Still, like a lot. It just feels like all these are kind of complicated compared to.
The ones that were banned are complicated too.
I think the ones that are banned are probably more complicated, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think they're about the same level. I think once again,
besides
extract
Montesi.
thing.
Yeah,
I think
and we haven't got a new extract. Was it Deadly Legacy Viruses the last new extract we got?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer.
I know that I just double checked this. None of the packs that have been announced that we know are coming come with a crisis card.
Yeah, that's kind of my issue that I have. Like, I feel
We
like,
do need more crisis cards, just
yeah,
in general.
that's kind of my, that's honestly my
Yeah.
thing is now we're missing two. So it's like you're taking two away, and like we only have nine left, and it's like it already felt like there wasn't a whole lot, and now it just feels like there's less. Uh, I mean, I obviously have a fear on rotation just in general. I don't like the idea of rotating. They haven't done it, but like rotating characters is
I don't think they're
something.
gonna rotate characters.
I know,
It's
but it's just
different. It's different when you've built a model and painted a very cool model, and then they say that they can't. You're not allowed to play that. I think that they know well enough that they should not take that action.
my
There's
issue is
other
I feel
there
like
are
if you're
other
gonna
things to
rotate,
do with.
and I get that, but I feel like the biggest thing is if you're gonna rotate stuff, like rotate stuff. Like don't like just rotating cards is just a lot of feel bads for people because it's like they know what they want, they know what they like, and I get it, like and it doesn't have to be.
Are you saying that you would like just you wish they would just say they are rotating stuff for this reason? Well,
Yeah,
what is the point?
yeah, I would just want some kind of like clarification and just like status. Don't leave everyone hanging in the dark because it's just like I'm gonna be a lot pickier now on like what I'm buying. And I started doing that anyway, but it's just like I'm gonna be a lot pickier because like why would I want like unless I'm gonna play, and then even then it's just the idea is like oh man this could rotate. The only way I think I was okay with it because I did think about this and I had a conversation with a couple other people. I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of like leaders rotating and only leaders. So like the Avengers have three leaders. It's like okay, like maybe rotate one or two of them out, like and you still have like two, if they add another one, and start like rotating random leaders out, like rotate Red Skull out when we get
So, what
Malekith.
you were saying is you were worried that this is coming down the pike, that they're going to rotate out models.
Yeah, I'm not as confident as Brad. I don't I've played too many games that have rotation. I feel like it's something that's almost inevitable in some kind of form or
I think
fashion.
the difference being that this is a model game.
Yeah,
They're
and
not going to
also
tell you that you can't play with your toys that you bought. A card is nothing, but a character, that's a big deal. I don't think
Yeah.
they're going to do it.
I mean,
I
but there's
don't
a
think
certain
they
point
do.
where you're gonna have a massive oversaturation of characters.
Okay.
That was kind of the issue we were saying of cards. There's an oversaturation of cards. So, like, what's the difference? I get your point, but you're thinking they give a shit about that, and they don't. They're a company that wants to make money. So you start rotating characters. This is the thing. You gotta hear me out. There's no company in the world that wouldn't think, oh, if I rotate these characters, people will buy more stuff, because that's exactly what loyalists will do.
I think that what you are saying is capitalism is bad. I mean, you're right. I think that you're not incorrect in this assessment. That
They
a
don't want to
company has
make
to
their
keep.
they don't want to make their customers mad.
I think you overestimate their concern on what they think on that. I mean, not like especially if you get to a point they know you're gonna buy stuff and you know you have other stuff. Like the people that they would be alienating are the people they aren't super probably concerned about. The people who only buy like one or two things. Like they're not concerned about that. Like in that scenario, those people if they want to play the game, they'll buy more stuff. So it's kind of like it just feels to me it feels inevitable, just from the business standpoint and honestly a game standpoint. It's just like especially now where you have we did this series of character adjustments and stuff. I just I just fully imagine like so now it's like okay if this character needs adjusted why wouldn't you rotate him out and then when you rotate him back in him be adjusted? That gives them time to properly adjust them and everything of that nature. I think the difference is I don't think cards are coming back per se. I do think characters would come back. I think characters would be an actual rotation timeline.
Wait, you are like 4 steps down the road. I
That is
think
how
that
my
there's
brain works,
validity to what
boys.
you're saying. There's validity to what you're saying. I see what you're saying as something that could happen. Uh, I think that's let's see what happens before we pass that kind of
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah, but that's how my
Uh,
brain works. I'm concerned of stuff that isn't
if I
even thought
can't
about
play
yet.
mutants, if I can't play mutants, I'm not playing this game. Like, and there are a lot of people like me who they like what they like, and if they can't play it, they're not going to play. I don't
yeah,
think
and
they're going to make that mistake.
I think that would be something that I think that rotating characters is a completely different step than rotating cards. I think it's like substantial. It is the kind of step that we won't have to worry about within probably more than a year and a half. I mean, we won't even. That sort of thing is not even on the radar.
And I get it, but it's just one of those things where, like, this feels like that's gonna be their new way of avoiding like the character adjustments and stuff like that. I just feel like that's what they're gonna end up doing. Again, like, and it might be way down the line, it might not be a big problem, but like it's the same thing. Like I know Brad's worried about like where he says like mutants and stuff, but it's like okay, yeah, but you're still gonna play if they only rotate some of them. Like you're not gonna
Yeah,
just
Brandon, I'll tell you this: if they start rotating out lots of characters that we like, I would be happy to play Legion with you.
why. And I'll wear
All right.
my tinfoil hat during the entire game.
Okay.
So, like I said, I get it, and it's hard to explain this because that's how my brain works. My brain works in a system of like, well, if this happens, this could happen. If this happens, then that could happen. And this happens, and then that happens, and like that's just how I
And we
think
have no
everything in
reason.
life. Yeah, but
There's no
like,
reason to think that this would ever happen.
yeah, but if we just sat here and agreed on everything, why the fuck would anybody listen to this podcast?
Oh, I don't think anyone is listening to this podcast.
And that's why I
Let's
can wear a
let's
tin
move.
helmet and move on with my life. Hey, Brad, tell us about Cerebro and all the updates you've had to do in the last week.
We haven't even talked about the restricted list.
We can get back to that.
Okay, I'll tell you about the Cerebro updates. Then we'll talk about the restricted cards. So, let me bring it up here. So the big thing, of course, is that I updated what cards you can and cannot play in Standard. With that, though, I added an option. So if you look at the menu, next to the logout screen is a settings button. You click that, and there's lots of good settings in there. One of the things you can now do is hide the uh, standard illegal cards when you're building lists. So when you go to add a card, it won't be there. If you have old lists that still have them, they will be in there till you delete them from the list. So that's a big thing. Also, because I've been asked like 3 times this week to delete any item in your list, the list itself or a game, either an unfinished or finished game, swipe left and hit the trash button. Swipe left. It's an app.
I have had to show people that like numerous times actually.
I've been asked 3 times this week, which I'm glad people are using it. And like I know that is not intuitive if you're on a computer. I don't think it's a thing on Androids either.
It
Normally,
works.
it works. I don't think that is standard practice on Android apps.
I don't know.
If you go by like Google's design document or whatever. But
No, it's not.
I'm going to try to add something to help people realize that that's what they need to do. I just have to figure out how to do it.
You could put like an arrow, maybe an arrow in the background.
I don't know. I'll figure something out.
If it makes you feel better, it is much more complicated to do that on computer
I know.
than it is. I mean, it's not a bad thing by any form or fashion. I believe actually that I showed Jared on one of our video recordings that you could do that. Speak of the devil, Jared, did I show you how to delete things off Cerebro on one of our videos?
I think so.
Hey, we have been met by a wild Jared. A wild Jared has appeared.
Wow,
Hello.
Jared has to get his volume turned down.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
How's everybody doing?
We
You-
just had a very fraught discussion.
You missed
Fraught?
my
It
you
is
missed
one-
my tinfoil hat conversation, so good for you.
Damn it.
Yep.
You've already been a
But,
part of it though. I've had that conversation with you already, so.
Oh, I got you.
And now
I've
he
had-
immediately
had
is
a few
caught up.
different tinfoil, so do a few different tinfoil hat discussions and stuff.
Yeah, this is how my brain works sometimes. Sorry, everybody. So
Well,
we
let's-
went over Cerebro. I wanted
let's
to
keep
kind
moving.
of wait
Let's
on
keep
you. We're going to go over the
I'm not
new
done with
restrict.
Cerebro.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Brad's not done with Cerebro. Brad is being real bossy today. We need to get our union involved.
Oh, well. There's he's been laboring nonstop over the latest Cerebro updates, so he
Yeah.
might be on edge.
There's some sort of problem with the dice calculator where things are adding up to over 100%. Fix that. I also took off reroll any that's been broken if you rolled more than like 6 dice for quite a while. So I took that off until I could figure out how to fix it. And I added, I split the throw tag into terrain throw and character throw. That should make people happy. In doing that, I learned that character throw way more common.
Yep.
Really?
Now, it's because they're on attacks, not superpowers.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So
Yeah.
character throws are a lot more common.
Like Kingpin, Black Swan. I can think of a bunch that have them.
Yeah. I also added range tags for all the attacks. So if you search range 5, you'll see every character that has a range 5 attack. Same with any range band. Range and then the number. Also, someone finally told me, because I didn't know, that when you clicked on the resource cards in the deployment cards in the resource section, they weren't popping up. So I fixed that. That was a big one. Lots of cool things on the horizon. Lots of people have asked, hey, can you do this recently? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Because it's summertime and someone doesn't have to work.
I've worked all this week.
I know you have. You tried to work yesterday during game night.
I did. I actually got that done last night too. It was turn 1 into my game with Andrew, and I think I finished it up, and then I got to play.
Alright, well, let's, is that all for Cerebro? It's a lot.
Yeah, that's all for now.
It's a lot. So we can get right into the restricted cards. Brad, you got that list pulled up? I don't know if Jared's got that list pulled up. He just showed up, so I don't know if he's prepared to.
Switch back.
So, is there a way to? This is something maybe you already have this in here and I don't know how to do it. Is there a way to filter straight down into just restricted?
No, there's no way to do that.
Okay.
There's no tags for restricted?
No, there are no tags for restricted.
Seems
simply
like a
call it
good idea.
It does sound like a good idea that I'm gonna put on my list right now. Give me just a second.
I was going to suggest that maybe that could be a thing, because now I'm sure that the list is going to consistently just grow and grow and grow and grow. So, I do have all the current restricted cards pulled up if you'd like me to rattle them off.
We did go over them once, but
Let's hear about him and talk about him.
Okay, so the current restricted cards now in the standard format are Advanced R&D, Brace for Impact, Disarm, Indomitable, Patch Up, and Sacrifice. So,
you missed 2.
what are the other 2 I missed?
Reality Gem, Space Gem.
Oh yeah, I was even thinking about the gym. So Reality Gym and Space Gym are also on that list, and they go against your your tactics cards that you're allowed to take. So if you want Reality Corvus, you're gonna have to sacrifice one of your restricted cards somewhere through there. Yeah, what do you guys think about these changes?
I
Uh,
think I
we
think
we we risk going backwards in time.
Oh, did you guys
Uh,
already talk about it?
no. We have not talked about the restricted cards.
okay, that's fair.
I think, given the cards that are left, this list makes a lot of sense.
I I I agree with you. I like him a lot. I think that, a lot of what you've seen that has been banned, I think either can lead to one, a bad play experience. So you can kind of see that with like hired muscle plays, which they axed, a while back, uh, or things that can really swing, like manipulate the dice in a heavy way for like a longer period of time. So things like blind obsession and bitter rivals. Like bitter rivals is, you could work around it, and it wasn't great on like every map, but it could seriously just completely alter how a round or a match kind of works out. And you've seen that with like All You've Got, which was banned prior to this. So I think they've
We
done a good job. Huh?
we have talked about this. I mean,
Oh,
you are
I'm
We've
sorry.
saying
talked
I'm
this
about
literally,
in a
banned
way that
cards.
is much better. Yeah.
yeah,
We've talked about the banned cards.
yeah. What
We're
I'm
just
saying is
talking restricted.
the cards that they have banned, I think it makes sense why they got banned. I think that all the cards that they've left restricted, don't feel bad. That was kind of the point I was making, is they don't feel bad when you do play them, but they all have a very, very strong effect. So like
Yeah.
Indomitable is a very strong effect. Sacrifice is a very strong effect. Brace is a very strong effect. So all the ones that are restricted are very strong effects, and in some cases, like they're super strong, but they're also a little bit niche. So I think that kind of banning the cards that have super heavy swings or can like lead to feel bad moments. I think they've done a good job with that. I think that everything that's restricted is a good list to have restricted, and they're all really strong, that are slightly niche and don't feel terrible for your opponent when you play them. So I think they've done good.
Yes. I'm glad you said that in a much better way than I did. Uh, I will say that much. But I agree with you fully.
Yeah, what do you think about the restricted cards, Brandon? Oh no, did we lose Brandon?
Do we lose Brandon? Uh,
We might have lost Brandon.
Having a little bit of technical issues here at the moment.
Sorry about that.
I
My
There he
computer.
is.
Sorry about that.
There
My
it is.
computer went haywire. My dog freaked out for a second. I was gone for.
Oh,
He's good. He's just a big baby.
okay.
He's fine. He just got antsy, I guess. What I miss?
How do you feel about the restricted cards?
How do I feel? I think for what's left, I think the restricted cards are pretty solid. I mainly because I really like the stones, because like when the rotation originally happened, that like because Black Order doesn't really need the restricted cards that they had. You know what I mean? Like they were, especially Thanos. Like Thanos was real oppressive, and didn't really need any cards to make him better or make him like more appealing or less appealing or anything. So I do like the stones. Sacrifice was a little weird for me. Um, I guess it's fine. I didn't really understand that one. It doesn't feel like necessarily a broken ability. Uh, but I don't.
I don't
I guess
think
I
that
don't have
any
a
of them
problem.
are.
Ah, I mean, like that's the one that just I guess doesn't make a ton of sense, because it's just like I felt like Sacrifice is a really good solid card. and now it being restricted, like there's not a lot of cards out there now that aren't like universally affiliated to where like you can play them anywhere. And I felt like that was like the one good one that they had left, and it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of any of them. It's going to be real hard to fill out your 10 cards. Like there's simply just not a ton of really good cards that aren't specific to affiliations. Like you're going to see a whole lot more PSD than we saw before. Um, you're probably going to see mission objective find its way into rosters for lists that can play it. I think you're going to see a whole lot of mark for death. Um,
Follow me.
Follow me, yeah. There's that was the next one I was getting to. It just feels like you're going to see a lot of like a lot more of these very specific cards versus a much of a variety, and I feel like I feel like those cards are going to be probably in most, if not every roster that doesn't have a ton of cards they can play that are like character specific or affiliation specific. That's the only issue I could see with that problem now that there are kind of a little bit more restricted options, because most of those banned ones, I believe, if not all of them, were not restrictive in any way that anyone could play them. So it's kind of interesting how that ended up working out to where now it's very, even going through, if you go to Cerebro and you go to tactics cards, if you avoid the red and the yellow, very few of them don't have something to the right side, which is indicating that it's like character or affiliation specific. And even some of the ones that do, um, are just kind of, it's like, oh, that's kind of meh. I think Face Me is going to see a lot more play too. Um, so it's interesting. It'll be interesting how it all plays out, but that's my really only concern in that.
I think one of the big things with the gyms, what restricting the gyms did, was it made you really have to consider if you wanted to splash Corvus or Thanos with the base gym.
Yes, that
Yeah.
very much so.
Like you gotta, it's more of a hard commitment now. I guess
Because
if you take Thanos with power mind, it's not a big deal.
Well, I think that the general consensus is that he's incredibly oppressive with space now always being taken. So I think that the way they did it was relatively clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it because I do think I agree. I think you're going to see a whole lot less of a splash of Corvus and Proxima, and I think you're going to see a whole lot less splash of Thanos, for good reason. I think I think that's a positive thing.
I think I'm hoping that with this list and with like future releases, I hope that we see like a really like solid increase of character and faction specific tactics cards. And I hope that that's what helps flesh out your 10. It's like you'll have a couple of your restricted cards, and then it'd be nice if like a majority of your 10 was made up of nothing but like faction and character cards.
Yeah, because really cool it's real hard to make defenders tactics cards list if you're playing only defenders. Like it's rough, just from experience.
Right now, that's the case.
Right now, well, the same thing like Midnight Suns. Like Midnight Suns was probably my most affected roster. I lost, I think, 6 cards and plus a extract, so that was tough.
Yeah, but I mean, you're losing those cards, so like they're already gone, right? So then maybe, I mean, does that in a Midnight Suns roster, like clearly you take Siege, but
it's rough.
Deal with the devil, so like now does like Highway to Hell make it in a lot, and also maybe like Seance? Like, I mean, does that just
you start playing a lot of bad cards is what ends up happening.
Well, no, they're not necessarily. Everyone is
playing. There are a lot of affiliations that have drastically better tactics cards than a lot of other affiliations.
That is true, but what I'm saying is like that does
Like
open up space
miles
for them.
better.
It opens space down the road, but
So
like
we don't have to talk about Shield.
like
Shield, Avengers. Hey,
Medpack was good, right? Like you always took Medpack, and you took like Bitter Rivals and stuff. But now that those cards are gone, like, is Seance like a bad card?
Yeah.
Like, is Highway to Hell a bad card?
yes.
They
I
are
don't
bad
think
cards.
Highway to Hell.
Yeah, I don't think that Highway to Hell is at all. I just think that you
It's-
usually took.
It's way too similar to Journey Through Limbo to be bad.
Let's read
Journey
it.
Through Limbo is great.
How is that? I don't think that Seance is necessarily a bad card. Because you can put out Brother Daniel token and be rolling what 3/5 still, and oh no, you're not rolling 3/5, but you add extra dice for your crits. So when you pull it back, but when you put it on another character, they don't add any dice for crits for the whole round. That seems like that's fine.
Only if that character has the Brother Daniel token.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're then leaving Voodoo vulnerable for the
It
entire
depends.
round. For the
It de-
entire round, because you can't suck it back up when he's dazed. So you
No,
cause
but you
it.
can
So you,
suck it back up when he's attacked, right? So if you really need it, you can take
Yeah.
it back if you think he's in danger.
if you have the power, right? It's not free, is it? I really don't remember.
Look at that.
We are way off in the weeds.
Yeah.
Have you met me?
Anyways,
yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah, it costs 2. So it's gonna make it interesting. And I honestly I think the big thing you're gonna see if you start looking at these big tournaments, you're gonna see the factions that saw minimal play. You're gonna see those start to evaporate. I really do. I think you're gonna really see some of the higher end, bigger affiliations are really gonna be. They're gonna take over bigger percentages of tournaments.
well, if the factions that you're talking about, like, their percentage wasn't taken very much anyways. It's not the tactics cards that's doing that to them, clearly.
Well, and I'm not saying that. It's just it's school. I do feel like it's going to squeeze out, and for the competitive, I don't think this affects like your tabletop and your local game nights, but I think for tournaments, I think you're going to see some of those factions that saw fringe play. I think they're going to start evaporating.
Possibly. We'll see.
Yeah, it may not happen. Maybe it'll be the exact opposite. No, I can't even say that with a straight face.
All right. Well, let's let's move on. What is the next section normally?
I don't know what's left.
I think that
games we played.
Oh, that's right.
You might have to cut that part out.
We don't edit this.
That's true.
Fred,
This is all raw, folks.
I know you played a game.
I did. I played 2 games against Borka, and he kicked my ass both games. But the first game we played, I was playing Criminal Syndicate with Shadowland Daredevil and Lizard. I had Winter Soldier, Bullseye, and there was one other person whom I'm blanking on right now, but it was Research Station and the superpowered scoundrels, and he dominated me. It was really one-sided. It was a very bad game for me. And here's the worst part: is the dice were probably more in my favor than in his. He just outplayed the crap out of me. He was playing Wakanda, and he had a splash. He had Valkyrie with Wakanda, and that was a very good combination. The second game, he played Defenders, and I was playing Spider Foes, and I did a lot better. And we were playing a Montesi formula, which was, to be honest, the very first time I've ever played Montesi formula, and it was a lot of fun. I like that scenario. And that game was a lot closer. I did a lot better that game. But I always enjoy playing Borka, and I know that you also got a game in, Brad.
I did. After my No Thanos Black Order list did so well last week, I decided to play it again this week. Played against Andrew's Web Warriors. And
Mic on.
Andrew played Avengers, not Web Warriors.
Oh yeah, he played Avengers. Sorry, he did play Avengers because it was two Captain Americas, Iron Man, War Machine, Black Panther, Luke Cage, and I had Corvus Reality, Proxima, Black Swan Power, Black Dwarf, and Supergiant.
How'd that play for you?
So, turns out Supergiant is a straight up counter to Black Panther. Which
Really?
is mystic attacks, which ignore all of his defensive tech. And she can just pay not to get pushed.
Oh.
Huh.
So he can't even
You're
push
right.
her off the point with his attack. And she can only ever take one physical damage from his builder. So
Huh.
she is like the perfect counter. And all I thought when I put her down across from Black Panther was she has mystic attacks. She was the only one on my side that did. And I know that's good against Black Panther. And I just ran into the rest during the game. And I was like, this is good.
Look at that. You got so much more than you asked for.
Yeah. We did Alien Ship and Intrusions. I think it was turn 5. Brandon, who had been like watching parts of the game, said something about teleporting, and we both go, "Oh yeah!" As soon as I could teleport, the game started going my way. But at that point,
The game was basically over.
Yeah, it was 14. No, 13. I think 13. 6 or something like that, and then I scored like 6 points to his 2, so he was at 15, and I scored. No, it couldn't have been that much. 3 to his 2. I did 3 to his 2 again, but there's no way I could have caught up. He ended up with the Kree Corps on War Machine and had too many bodyguards and then backed up, and I just could never get it off of him.
Can I be honest? I'm kind of glad that Andrew won because I want him to come back more often.
It was very one-sided. Like I got my ass handed to me.
I promise you, by what the description of your game went, I got my ass handed to me a lot harder. I ended up with like 7 points at the end of the first game that I played against Borka. It was bad.
Do you guys want to play everyone's new favorite game?
What's that game?
I don't know about new favorite. It was fun.
Let's do some Longshanks trivia.
Hey, let's play. I want to play.
As of this recording, the number 1 in faction has been claimed for every single affiliation except one. Name the affiliation.
Shield.
Inhumans.
Cabal.
Jared, do you have a guess?
He said Shield.
Oh, I said Shield.
You said Shield. Brandon said Inhumans.
That's
Right?
correct.
That's
what
it
that
was?
is what I said.
And then Cabal. You're all wrong. All of those have been claimed at this point.
The Defenders?
The Defenders has been claimed. The only one that has not been claimed is Winter Guard.
Oh,
That's cheating. That's cheating.
It is listed and it says no data.
Well, look at them. They're ahead of the game.
They're very ahead of the game.
They're on the ball.
Oh man! Speaking of getting stuff ready, if we're gonna record any videos with Winter Guard, I need to find a SVG of the Winter Guard, or make an SVG of the Winter Guard symbol.
I mean, we got a little bit of time, right? What was it, August? I feel like I heard August.
That's the earliest it could be, but I like to be ready. Do we want to talk about hobby?
I haven't had a whole lot of time at hobby.
Me either.
I need to put together some stuff that I still have. I just haven't had any time. Yeah. No, I haven't really had a whole lot of hobby time.
I bought some Legion stuff.
That doesn't count.
What else? I put a Pokemon deck together.
If you did anything with that Legion stuff, we might be able to count.
That's true. I bought it and it's just sitting there. I was gonna do it this weekend, but I got sick, and I actually I'm going out of town, and the people watching my dogs came over, and they're like, what's this? I was like, a bad habit of buying things that just sit in the box forever. So unfortunately, haven't got to do a whole lot.
I don't know. It's not hobby, but I've been teaching my daughter Pokemon.
Hey, how's she liking it?
She liked it a lot.
It's a perfect game for kids.
Right now, like she's not messed. Like she collects them and stuff, but like I have a little starter. It's like what's that called, Brandon?
The Battle Academy?
Battle Academy. I got one of those, and it has like the rules and stuff. It's pretty well done. It's good. It's definitely good for kids to learn. I mean, it helped me learn and stuff, but I've shown it to her. Like the one thing about TCGs, that's like her first time like super delving into it, but she'll talk like mad shit when she draws a good card. I'm like, oh, okay, it's like you don't. If you get something real good, you don't gotta like let me know what it is. You can keep that secret for a little bit till you play it. So, but yeah,
She'll learn. She'll learn.
She's having fun. We're both having a lot of fun with it. So,
For quite a while, been playing a D&D game that just finished. We saved the day.
oh, you guys finished it, huh?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
They killed the ancient white dragon at the end.
Oh my!
I mean, I didn't. Well, okay. I was gonna say I didn't.
You
do
did
much,
some
but
damage. You did some damage.
I did the second most probably damage, but
Yes, you definitely did that. There was a paladin in the group, and the paladin, of course, smiting with third and fourth level spell slots is gonna do the most damage. There's no changing that.
I might have been close if I hadn't missed so many shots.
Yeah. AC 20, man, you gotta get around it. Are you guys ready to talk about what we're here to talk about?
Yeah, I think we'll take a quick break and then we can start talking about Crimson Dynamo. So.
All right.
The first mention of Crimson Dynamo this entire podcast. Oh, there's a lot. All right, we'll be back in a moment, guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Crit Hit Wild character review section of our podcast. I'm your host Jared. Joining with me is Brad, Fred, and Brandon. And just a reminder before we get started, looking at Crimson Dynamo, that if you want to hear more of us ramble and be terrible at podcasting in general, you can catch us the full version of the podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, anywhere that you guys listen to podcasts. We cover Cerebro news and updates. We cover news and updates in general with the game. And we just kind of give a recap of like how our week went, hobby-wise, games we played and stuff. So if you're looking for a little bit of that kind of in the shop or post-game night talk that you kind of get with your friends, come hang out with us. Again, we're terrible at podcasting, but we have fun. So But this week we are looking at Crimson Dynamo, aka Dmitry Bucharin. Bucharin, is that right?
Karen.
Bucharin, there we go. And he is going to be the leader, the, the leader of the new Winter Guard affiliation. So very exciting there. Just to kind of run over his stats in case you're listening to this and not watching us on YouTube. He is a 6 stam, small move on a, I believe, medium-sized base. He's size 3 at 4 threat. He has a 4-3-4 defensive stat block. He has a pretty interesting builder, so I'm going to flesh it out a little bit. It is Beam 4, 5 dice energy, so pretty much exactly the same as Vision. After each attack is resolved, this character gains 1 power, and this has a Wild Shock. So after each attack is resolved, the target character gains the Shock special condition. So a very, very good free attack there. And then he has Homing Rockets attack, which is identical to Iron Man. Range 5, 5 dice, 2 power. Attack ignores line of sight, and the character does not get the benefits from cover. And it has a wild explosive trigger. So before damage, other enemy characters within 2 suffer 1 damage. So a pretty decent attack suite. Nothing too impressive in the way of his spenders, but his builder, very, very good. He has the Unbreakable Red Line leadership ability for the affiliation Winter Guard. It is 2 parts. At the start of an allied character's activation, it may remove 1 special condition. That's a free thing that happens just at the start of the activation. And the second part is when an allied character is contesting a secure objective and would be pushed. It may roll a die. On a crit, wild, or shield result, it is not pushed, which I believe, Brad, you have the math for that, correct?
I think it was 37.5%.
37.5%. So 37% chance to not be pushed. He has an active superpower, Overcharged Capacitors, which is free. It does cost you an action, but this character gains 2 power, so pretty good there. He has an active Propulsion Thrusters. Place this character within 2 of its current position. This superpower can only be used once per turn. That comes in at 2 cost. He has a 2 cost Reactive Disruption Field. When this character or another allied character is targeted by an enemy attack, and the enemy is within 3 of this character, it may use a superpower. This character may reroll up to 2 of the attacker's dice. So, whenever an enemy attacks anyone within 3, you can pay 2, reroll up to 2 of their dice. So, a good little bit of defensive tech there. And then finally, he has Carborundum. If I got that right? Rundum.
We're math people around here, guys. We're math people.
Carborundum.
It's also
Not what I
fake.
expected.
It does not exist.
And we're science
Shut
people
up,
too.
Fred.
Yeah, Carborundum Matrix Alloy. When this character would suffer damage, reduce the amount suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. And then finally he has Flight. And then on his injured side, there are no changes, so everything stays the same. So yeah, Crimson Dynamo, leader of the Winter Guard affiliation. I absolutely love this guy. He's just really, really good. His base ability, Electric Blast, gaining 1 power, 5 dice on a beam 4 with a wild shock. Shock is a super strong effect. It's just a very, very strong effect, and being able to put out wild shock, especially at 5 dice, is fairly consistent. So he's just going to be dishing it out left and right. He has an amazing stamina pool at 6 and 6 for being a 4 threat leader. I mean, it's a pretty good stamina pool. He has good defensive stat line, and he reduces damage by 1. So he's able to stay pretty safe shooting at range 4 or range 5, depending on what you're doing. He's reducing damage taken, so he's going to be hard to remove. Again, he has good health to back up his the damage reduction stuff. He's just super serviceable all on his own. He doesn't need anything, and that's exactly. I love this kind of design because that's exactly what you want to see out of a leader of your affiliation. You want your leader to feel good. You don't want to feel like you're being taxed for taking him. And he has good offensive output. He's a small base, but that's offset by the fact that he can place within 2 of wherever he is, so he can likely get in range to do things.
Isn't he a medium base?
Yeah, he's a small move on a medium base.
Oh, okay. I heard small base.
Oh no, no. Excuse me. So, if I did say that, I apologize. It's a small move on a medium base, but that by itself, like small move, small base is ideal. It's pretty much like the worst case scenario. That's what you don't want. Small move, medium base is very serviceable. Even if you're just like advancing, it's still okay. But he can place himself within 2. He can always make it online if he needs to because he can use an action to gain 2 power. He provides some support to his team via his disruption field. Like he's just great.
Jared,
Yeah.
I am so glad you brought up the do an action, gain 2 power, and then use the power to teleport, because that gets you almost the exact same spot as just a small move.
Oh yeah.
I was just thinking. I was just thinking that too. I was like, why would you?
I don't know. I guess you would just take the small move.
I
But-
mean,
Unless you
the
already
reason,
had the power.
right.
I don't win much. So,
Or hey, this also
that is
this
a lie. What are you talking about?
if you need
You
to
are-
move through Medusa, you can't do that with your move stick. You
That's
can do that
true.
with this place.
Hey, thank
can
you.
also-
Yeah.
Or
You can
Angela.
also place yourself
Alright,
on
John.
top of the. But he's small move and
These
flight.
small moves.
So never mind.
Yeah, there's flight on that, Fred. It's alright. I thought of that.
Right,
I
yep,
did
never
think of that originally, and then I was like, well, that doesn't do anything. But it gets through those little hairpin things where if you're near a Medusa, it's something to keep in your mind, just not something you should be doing like ever.
Or do it all the time because it's hilarious.
Or if you don't want to, I guess never mind. That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I-
that's
I-
real.
so
I really Medusa and Angela are really the only times that ever comes up, probably.
No, I think that this is a range extender, or it's a way to put yourself into the position you want to be in to line up a beautiful beam.
Double
Because
beam.
well,
Oh,
yeah, you're right. You have good double beam. That's
If you already have the power, I mean, save that move, teleport, and double beam.
yeah.
Well, I've embarrassed myself
can we-
for the current character review section. So I'll let somebody else actually talk about the kit. Who wants to go next and actually talk
I
about
want to
it?
go next.
Go ahead.
I really like his leadership.
I thank you. I agree.
If
Do you want to
the
talk about it?
If the other characters are stuff I actually like, they could convince me to pick this faction up because they're kind of X-Men adjacent. Before the Avengers were popular, so the movies, they were more marketed as Brush's version of the X-Men than Brush's version of the Avengers, and so I've got a little bit of love for them. Not enough to pick them up unless I see some interesting things. Well, Ursa Major, I'm probably buying no matter what. But
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a big bear. Why would you not
Ursa,
want a big bear?
Ursa Major's a mutant werebear. That's too awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm done. If someone else can talk.
Yeah, let's talk about this leadership. So you know all these characters that have a stagger effect, like that. Like let's say Black Cat doesn't work. It doesn't work. They can just remove the stagger.
It
At the
literally
beginning of the
will never happen.
It doesn't happen. That is so good. We talked recently about action economy, and stagger is one of the best abilities because it hurts your opponent's action economy, and this makes you immune to stagger. I mean, this is just great. I love his affiliation bonus. I think that he is a very interesting model. He is very he strikes me as being highly defensive. Like the one thing that I'm nervous about with the Winter Guard is I'm worried that it's going to become a turtle faction. If the other models in the faction kind of act in a similar manner, it would become the action of claiming territory and then saying come here and take it.
I mean, they are really defensible, but
We just don't know what they do yet. We
do we? We don't really have any So I see what you're saying as far as like defensible. Like he's reducing damage, he's re-rolling like the attacker's dice, and he's putting out shock. Do we have? Are there any affiliations that are currently in this game? Because you see high control with you can't see it with Thanos, but you see it like Web Warriors. They're like a control faction, and then you have clear like scenario factions, and you have clear like just brawl factions. Do we have, in your guys' opinion, any real factions in the game that are just purely bred to like survive and like endure?
Kingpin.
Kingpin, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
I would argue that is a scenario faction. That is how they play scenario. Is that they
Yeah.
outlive.
they
So,
outlast their opinion.
Yeah.
I think
I'll chime
the
in
answer
here
to your
if it's
question is
okay.
no, we don't see it because that type of play style is not very good.
Kingpin's one of the best
just
effective
because-
leaders in the entire game from the moment he was printed.
But
No, hold on.
he's
That's not.
also
Hold on. I
scenario.
want to get in front of. Hey, I think that I was saying the what Jared said. The defensive play style.
Only defensive, not defensive scenario, but just defensive.
Right. That's what I was saying.
I'm curious.
Because Kingpin plays great. Kingpin's fantastic.
I think what you see, I think you're probably right, Fred. That like I think what'll happen is that you'll see probably decent attacks like all across Winterguard, and you would think that maybe their leadership leans towards scenario, but I think that they're probably going to the looking at how he is, I think that maybe they might be kind of an attrition faction, but
Yeah.
they lean more on just enduring you and then whittling you down versus just having these huge like Corvus attacks or something that will just tank a character. So
Right, because this character seems to be about, and this is the only one we know so far. But he seems to be very much about spreading out a lot of damage, because he doesn't do a lot of damage to any individual person, but he can do damage to multiple people with one attack on both of his attacks, which I think is neat. But it's also, and it's an attrition game kind of play. But also, what if you have to deal with something big on the table?
Yeah, he doesn't currently have any way to
major
do that.
at him.
Maybe.
Maybe.
What do you think, Brandon?
I am not going to be nearly as high on Crimson Dynamo as the rest of you guys. And I don't think it's bad by any means. I do feel the affiliation is. It's very good. I like the very top of it's very good. The not move being pushed is a lot of RNG is going to go into that. I do like that. I agree with the kind of where it feels like they do want to play a very defensive, secure based game. The problem is I'm not sure how great they're going to be at that. I kind of when I read this and looked at it, it really felt like a worse version of Kingpin. That's not really an insult because Kingpin's one of the best models in the entire game. However, it's going to be very dependent on the rest of Winterguard. I think that's been kind of the consensus so far. We're going to run into that. As far as health and defenses, he's pretty well on average across the board. He on average rolls less dice than other four threat characters. Just having 5 and 5. The range is above average, which is good. Having the abilities is really good. I do like his abilities, I like his flight. He is going to be a leader. I don't feel like is going to put out a ton of damage. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because Kingpin doesn't put out a ton of damage either. You have a lot of leaders that don't necessarily carry their weight damage-wise. I do think, and if I did look into Winterguard a little bit, the rest of the team is much more offensive than Crimson Dynamo, if I'm not mistaken. Brad can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I do believe.
That's accurate.
Yeah, I believe the other characters could have a lot more offensive output, which could be really, really, really good. so I will reserve that. My hot take was that I do feel like this affiliation might just be slightly worse. Kingpin Criminal Syndicate. But as I stated, Kingpin Criminal Syndicate, since he was printed, has been a top anywhere from a top 3 to a top 5 affiliation. Um, so that's not an insult. That's not a bad thing to be, slightly worse than one of the best affiliations in the game. A combination. I do feel like Stagger picked up a lot of steam recently with like Black Cat. Specifically, just being able to hand out staggers. Black Widow's seen a lot of play, just being able to hand out staggers. Um, I don't think stagger is going to be as common enough to make that like super, like, because that's obviously the best thing is for a stagger, but also there are a lot of this. He's very good on Demons Downtown, being able to immediately clear incinerates, being at the start of every activation, being able to clear shocks, being able to clear poisons. Um, I do like that part a lot, and I think that's going to be the reason you play as affiliation. The other part's just kind of a bonus. I don't think that's something you should ever rely on. Just kind of assume that that's just your bonus potential perk for playing them. Um, the action, this character gains 2 power. We see a lot. I mean, it hasn't really been relevant on many other characters. I don't think it's going to be real relevant on him either. Um, the difference is he doesn't get that extra power. If you do play spread out scenarios, it might be a little tough for him to get power. Like the beam only getting 1 power, like you'd have to hit 2 to 3 characters to actually have a good power economy. That is my biggest concern, because he does feel like a character that wants to use disruption field very often. If you're not playing an affiliate or a scenario where you're gonna have a lot of beam opportunities, he might really struggle with power. Um, I do like the small place. As someone who has played a ton of Kingpin and a ton of medium based small moves, you dream for a place on those characters. So I do think that's going to get used a lot more, just to kind of position and put yourself in that like a good position to secure the objective and hold those. Because I do feel like that's how he wants to play based on his card. I don't know if that's how the affiliation will want to play, but as he reads, that's kind of seemingly. But he could be very much like Doctor Strange in the Defenders. Doctor Strange is very defensive model, uh, and then the rest of Defenders are very punch you in the face. So we might not, we might have that kind of twist too, where he just does a lot of tech stuff for his affiliation, and then his affiliation's really going to be in your face, punch you, beat you up, throw you to the ground, fight you and stuff like that. So I'm not as high on him as you guys are though.
I think you might be underselling his like output just a little bit. Like, yeah, he's only rolling 5 dice, but 5 dice attacks are very strong, and when you attach them to a beam, like I played enough Vision with Sam to have seen the Lord's work that you can do with a beam 4 or 5 dice, and it's glorious. So I think that, I mean, you throw enough dice at so many models, you're going to get some pretty good damage through. So I think that his damage is actually pretty decent. And then
It's just very dependent, right? The problem is when you're playing him, you have to play him. If you're playing Winter Guard, you have to play him every game. But if you play like two Ds or a B and a D where everything's kind of spread out, you're not going to have your miracle lines that if you're playing E's. It's a faction. I mean, you're probably going to play one. You're probably going to want to play some E's, but you might get stuck in a scenario where he's not doing a whole lot. That's all I meant by that. Is that he's going to be a little bit more dependent versus because like Vision, that if you're spread out, you might not bring him. Because that beam attack is great and beam attacks are really good, but as like I said, we're just full back to Kingpin. Like he's got that beam, is a beam 3-4 dice attack, which is great when you're playing those scenarios that are you can hit 2 to 3 people, uh, but when you can't, just kind of if it kind of feels bad, to gain 1 power and throw 5 dice at one character. Um, and then if you can kind of avoid him, I mean, the range 4 is really relevant. The range 5 for 2 is going to be really good too. Just being able to sit on a point, gain 2 power, homing rockets. That's probably going to be a really good play. I'm concerned that it might be really underwhelming from your leader to do something like that.
I see.
That's all.
Okay. Well, is there anything anyone else would like to add about Crimson Dynamo before we rate them?
I just want to remind people about Football Man. Can't wait for him to join the game.
How many?
Oh,
go ahead.
My nickname for Crimson Dynamo is Nickel Man, because I think of when famously Russia is the world's main producer of the metal nickel, and this is the Russian version of Iron Man, so he is Nickel Man to me.
When I was doing my research, Fred, this didn't make the cut, but I found out that there's a comic where Crimson Dynamo gets in trouble for coming to the United States to save his friend Titanium Man.
Oh my god.
Love it.
How many leaders have a 2-part affiliation? Storm does. Well, I guess Sam technically does it, but he has 2 effects on his
Shield.
leadership. Shield has 2 parts.
Kingpin
has 2 parts.
Kingpin has 2 parts.
Oh, I forget he has 2 parts. No one uses
Yeah,
the other.
it has 2
And
good
it's
parts.
wild because the other part's great. Yeah, no one ever
The other
remembers
part's
that it
really
good.
exists.
I think if it's herbs, which we haven't, like locally, we haven't seen a whole lot of herbs get played, but I think if it's Kingpin
and
herbs,
we won't anymore.
Yeah, and Kingpin Deadly Legacy, I think that you see that leadership come up a little bit more.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got those 4. I'm struggling. I don't think that there are any other affiliations that have 2 parts.
I'm going through them, so they're gonna pop up, and I'll be honest, like I'm realizing how little I know about some of these affiliations. Mystique has 2 parts. I don't remember if that was
does
said.
have 2 parts. One of them doesn't get used very much. Cyclops has 0 parts.
Cyclops technically has 2 though, right?
I think on average,
Sin has 2 parts.
Does she? What are her 2 parts?
Sin during cleanup phase after scoring VPs, roll a die for each objective token contested by an allied character. If the result is hit crit wild, push enemy character contesting the objective token away from objective token small.
And then if not, they drop it, right?
Yes.
But that's not 2 separate effects. It's all in the cleanup, right?
No, it's 2 different things, because one is for each objective token contested by an allied character, then roll a die for each enemy character holding an asset token. So it's 2 different things.
It's 2 parts.
I got you.
Come on now. I'm not. Storm has 2 parts, right?
Yep.
And then I don't even know what Red Skulls does, to be honest.
It's just sweet. So I think on average, like you don't see it too much with Sin, but when you look at Storm, she has like characters gain cover, which by itself is probably like that could be an affiliation. But then she also gets the added benefit of you can get a place. And with Sam, when a character is dazed, you get a short move, which would be, a fine thing on its own. But you also get the added benefit of removing 1 damage and 1 condition off of a character. So I think on a majority of the characters that have multiple pieces to like the puzzle for like their affiliation, again on average, not all of them, but I think that the ones that have pretty decent ones are usually very highly rated and pretty successful. Like Sam's pretty successful. I know a lot of people have had success with Storm. I don't know. I think that it having 2 separate parts like this, like
I feel like there's always one rather good part and then one part that is kind of forgotten about.
I don't know if it's forgotten about. It's a little bit more.
You just said you forgot about half of their second parts that we just went over.
Well,
yeah.
So whenever. No, not Storms. That's 2 separate effects. I guess I should have probably worded it a little bit different. She has cover, and then she also has a place. He has remove special conditions, and he also has the ability to not be pushed. So like Sins, whenever you talk about it, like it's got 2 things that happen, but it's all like rolled up into like kind of the same thing, where these are like 2 separate different pieces. I think whenever you see 2
different game
pieces,
mechanics.
Yeah, like one is always online and is good, and then you have another that's a little bit more niche. I think that that's really, I don't know. I think that that's really good design. and I don't know. I like it a lot. So
I think it's
yeah.
fun. Yeah, I
Uh,
guess we've talked about it outside of this. I just think it's going to be one. I think you're going to play it because of the special condition. But there are games where no special conditions really get put out.
well, I think you. So I think that you can kind of tech a little bit more. I don't. I'm trying to remember what all puts out special conditions, but you can take like Hood, and now all of a sudden your
You do.
attrition pieces you have med,
You're,
which is now banned, huh?
you're not getting bleed and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you can heal for 3 because med pack's banned. So you take Hood, you heal your tanky characters up in Winter Guard, and then now you can get rid of the bleed too. So
Yeah. You will literally never. You never have to suffer that bleed.
I am
yep.
just really glad that it specifies pushes and not like pushes and throws. Because
I don't think they'll do both.
they
It would
shouldn't.
be way too strong.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
shouldn't.
not being pushed is very very strong. The 38%
It doesn't need to
or
be better.
30. Nah, it doesn't need to be better. The 38% or the 37 some percent will feel bad, I think, sometimes, but I don't know.
It'll feel good when it happens.
It'll feel good
When
when
it
it
saves you.
happens. I love this character a lot. Like I didn't like as far as Winter Guard flavor wise goes. I don't know
The
very
other
much about him.
factions have a 0% chance of staying there, so 37.5 is pretty good.
No, it's better than nothing.
That's true.
I didn't know much about them. I said last cast that I would have to see what they do to get excited about them, and I think that they are headed in the right direction for an affiliation to be kind of keeping your eye on. The I'm not as big of a fan of RNG um, mechanics, so that's a little bit of a miss for me as far as the second part. But the first part is really good. It's good enough to be that was like only their affiliation bonus. It would be good. I think that the second part's just gravy on top. So I think that he's a very good piece, and I think he's definitely got the foot for Winter Guard in the right direction. Like they're going in the right direction. So they've got their foot in the door.
Jared, we've all seen you play games. We know how hard you're praying to RNGesus.
Oh yeah. Apparently, I'm not praying at all, and I am just RNGesus.
Also, like just
They
if just for everybody listening, for Jared to get excited about a new model, all it has to do is be new.
That's fair. That is fair.
And then he's right in line. It's like, I mean, to be fair though, like if he had this top affiliation and it was like it said the same thing at the start of an allied character activation may remove one special condition. Like if you could pay a power and also like heal yourself, that'd be also really good, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Hey, that's
What?
I'm not letting down all this hate that Asgard got for no reason. All right, we're not. A lot of hype over this when Asgard does effectively the same thing and heals their people.
It doesn't do both. You have to pick one or the other.
You know, it'd be nice.
You forgot that, didn't you? All right. Well, we can move on to ratings. So, who would like to start?
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, so what I see here, I like a lot of this stuff, but I'm worried that he does not play the way that I like to play. And I think
He
that
definitely
what
doesn't
Brandon
play the
said,
like you like to play, Fred.
right. What Brandon said, I think is absolutely correct. In that, I think I'm worried that this is going to become a simply less good Kingpin criminal syndicate sort of deal, where it's trying to play that game and just not doing as good of a job of it as criminal syndicate can. I think that this is going to be probably a limited faction. It's not going to have a huge number of boys, and it'll be a kind of faction that you can splash them. Like you'll have a main faction, and then you have 4 extra spots that you can fill with the Winter Guard. And in that regard, I think that has a lot of play. And of course, I could be completely wrong because we don't know what the rest of them do. I guess I'm taking a long way to say that I want to give this guy a B minus. That's where my head is going. Because I think that his affiliation bonus is great. I think it's excellent, and I think that his kit, all of it works, and there's not a whole lot of scornergy on there, and I kind of like what it does. It just might not. I don't think I'd ever bring this guy unless I was bringing him as the leader of the Winter Guard. So that's where I am. I'm at a B minus.
Okay. What about you, Brad?
I think he's in the grand tradition of, as Fred said, I'm probably not going to take him unless he's the leader. But as the leader, he's going to do pretty well. I think without his leadership, I'd probably give him a B for just being an affiliated model that you're going to take and get a lot of use out of. With that affiliation, I think that bumps up to at least a B+. That affiliation's good.
All right, Brandon, what about you?
Oh God. I if he's only Winter Guard affiliated, going off of that basis that he's where I'm gonna that's what we know right now. We know that he's Winter Guard, and we only know that he's Winter Guard. Knowing that's probably potentially going to be a 4 model affiliation, maybe I guess technically a 5 model affiliation. Will they put Black Widow in that? I don't know that answer.
Maybe.
Probably, just because.
Definitely
Maybe.
could.
Definitely, probably. So you're looking at a 5 model affiliation. I agree a lot with both of it. I don't see. I don't like kind of where Brad gave a model that he wouldn't splash a B if it didn't have the leadership, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. I think you take the leadership off. You're not playing Winter Guard. I don't think you play this model almost ever. I don't know why you would really splash it. I think you can get most of these effects on slightly better things, but I do think Winter Guard as an affiliation is potentially going to be a really good 3 model splash in some lists. And I think that does help out. However, I don't. This model isn't ticking a lot of boxes for me. It's not doing a whole lot for me. I do think he's good. It's just I just feel like we have better models that do similar things. If he would have been size 4, maybe just ticked a box, but size 3 kind of didn't quite tick the box. Also, the 6/6 health kind of scares me. The reduction definitely helps, but that does scare me a little bit. I like him. I'm definitely down there. I think I'm down there with Fred at that C plus B minus. I'll probably stick with Fred and hang out with him with that B minus. I think that's probably a solid hedge. Willing to adjust based on information forthcoming.
What doesn't make sense about putting a non-splash model as B?
Yeah, because how's the model a B? Like a B's really high grade. If you're never gonna splash him, which means if he doesn't have his affiliation, like you're probably never playing him. Like I don't. That's what I guess that doesn't.
B is a solid in-faction model. If they're splashed a lot, that bumps them to an A.
I mean, I don't know how much you would play him if he doesn't have that leadership. Even if you're in a big affiliation, so say you throw him in Avengers, he doesn't have an affiliation. I mean, does he ever see the field? Ever?
But that's not where he is. He's not in Avengers.
But you said we're taking away his affiliation. So if he's in almost any other affiliation,
we take away his leadership.
Well, I mean, but that's the problem. If it's only there's only 4 models, yeah, but you can't really be like, well, we're not going to splash him, but he's the fourth model in a four model affiliation. Like, yeah, if you want to play that affiliation, guess what? You're gonna have to play them.
Brandon's just really, really quick to question other people's judgments.
I am. I guess. Yeah. That's. I feel like that's a cop out of an answer, Brad. I do. I'm gonna say that. I think it is. But, Jared, tell us what you think.
B plus. I like him.
We're split. We've got 2 B minuses and 2 B pluses.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I definitely don't think he eclipses that A. And,
I think that. Well, I think I think that he is just a solid piece.
This is the thing too. If the affiliation is no, let's be straight up. If the affiliation is dog shit, he's becomes real bad, right?
Yeah, but if the affiliation fucking rocks, then he becomes real good.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of this could go a lot of ways.
I think if
I feel like we hedged really good here.
I think if they have maybe something that gives more value to like the remove one special condition, so like something similar to Hood, like if another character maybe can do a buff, but you also like get a condition, and then it doesn't actually matter because you can clear it off. Like there's a little bit of like synergy there, or maybe there's some. I don't know that there's anything to go along with the second part.
Maybe one of the characters might have something where they get a big buff, but the downside is some sort of condition.
Yeah.
And they can clear the condition. I don't know, like.
I feel like if they do that, they're gonna attach a like clause that can't be cleared with the affiliation if it's an affiliation.
No. Here's what I'm thinking, like, because it clears at the beginning of their activation. So if you put something in there that will affect stuff later, like let's say Ursa Major, he can re-roll 3 dice on an attack but gains poison. He'll be affected by that poison at least once, unless you clear it some other way. So
I'll add 3 dice for poison any time of the day, for the record.
Re-roll 3 dice, not add 3 dice.
I'll re-roll 3 dice for poison any day.
Yeah, it costs 2 power. You re-roll 3 dice, you gain poison.
You also could look at
because he's a big drinker. So he has a drink.
He drinks a big bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
Vodka.
I like that, actually. That I kind of hope that's what it does. That's a really good idea. Really thematic.
Yeah, if they maybe have some kind of synergy with the top of his leadership, or if he has like a good tactics card or something like that comes with him, I think that for me he can kind of bump up into the A category because tactics can really change.
What are the tactics cards for?
Have they announced them yet? I don't think so.
I don't think they've told.
It's listed on the website. We don't know what they do, but we can at least talk about the names real quick.
We can blindly speculate. I love this section.
You know what? Last time we did that, I was pretty close. So
you were, to be fair.
I'm bringing it up right now.
Yeah, hopefully there's other stuff. I think he's a good piece. I think Winter Guard could have some.
Hey Brad, you want to make a note real quick?
There's a tactics card. Dark Aura Manifestation. So that's got to be a Dark Star card.
Yeah.
Fusion Caster. That sounds like some sort of attack, right?
That's going to be from him almost certainly.
Yeah.
Because he's like nuclear themed.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, I have a real good guess on this last card, but yeah, that to me just screams an attack card.
If he gets something similar to Ricochet Blast or Helios Laser, I'm pretty on board.
Ooh, maybe I could see that. Now that would be a good attack card. Most of them are bad.
I feel like if it did, it would have to like KO him or something.
What?
No. The last card is called Winter Rush.
Ooh,
That's
like a Wakanda
Avengers
Forever.
Assemble.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
that is,
yeah.
Yep.
That's Avengers Assemble.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think if they get an Avengers Assemble equivalent, which Avengers Assemble is an incredible card. If they get that, if he gets
It's the only card left that moves you out of activation.
yeah, if he gets something that has some sort of parity to Ricochet Blast or Helios, it's probably more likely to be closer to Ricochet Blast. Yeah, but Ricochet Blast is an exceptional card. So whenever you get reroll all, like it's disgusting. So if he gets something sort of that I think that those two cards would be very, very good. All right, so we're looking at a B for Crimson Dynamo. So pretty good score. Most of us are, well, I guess half of us are a little bit higher on them than the other half, but all in all, a pretty solid piece. So
Yeah, let's put this in perspective. We're all in the B territory. Like none of us are saying he's bad.
I think Brandon's more on the C. He's closer to C than he is a B.
I'm much more skeptical. I feel like. I mean, it's the thing is like if the other model is like, so what? This is the thing is, I remember when Black Bolt was spoiled.
We've already covered this.
We were very high on Black Bolt, and then all of a sudden it's like that affiliation turned into dog shit, and it's just like it just feels.
Brandon,
I'm just very skeptical.
I'm going to put your mind at rest. This faction's going to be good. The other box comes with a card called Bear Hug.
I'm in. All right.
Yeah,
full circle. Full circle here. I'm in.
Fucking
sell
out.
Sell out.
There's also a card called Sovereign Strike. What if they have Avengers Assemble and Wakanda Forever?
Ooh.
Those models would have to be pretty bad because that might be too good. Like, just to be honest. I'll be honest though, I'll splash 3 of them in like every list I play. Maybe 4.
Like Wakanda Forever, like 3 other attacks.
Or maybe what's the Midnight Suns one where it costs 2?
Dark.
Siege of Darkness.
Yeah, Siege of Darkness. It's probably more like Siege of Darkness, but.
Well, I'll be curious. Well, okay, so being able to do his Beam 4 for free, depending on the setup, that's pretty good. So, I don't know. I guess it depends on what the other attacks look like. Like, Wakanda clearly displaces, and that's why you play it. And the Midnight Suns ones clearly just slaps because it's like Pierce and like 6 dice attacks coming your way, or rapid fire.
And Wong kills everybody he touches.
I mean, Wong locally has done more damage than he ever should have. So
Wong does what he does, man. Y'all haters.
He sucks.
He is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Why don't before we wrap up here, why don't you give us some comic book recommendations before we go into the non sequitur recommendation?
Oh, okay, I can do that. I was looking at the 3D thing for Ursa Major.
It's really cool, isn't it?
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Crimson Dynamo.
I'm a super sellout because if the Bear's good, I'll play this faction.
Just sellout.
Here's what I'm going to do for Winter Guard, because they are not in a lot of comics. The first recommendation that I'm going to give today is going to be for the affiliation. It has all 4 members that we're getting, and Crimson Dynamo is the leader of the team. I'll get to that in a second. And then for each member, I'm going to give you one storyline where they're like an important piece in that particular storyline, because there's only so many Winter Guard stories to go around. So just letting our audience know what to expect. So the overall recommendation for Winter Guard is a series called Winter Guard. Started coming out in 2021. It's by Ryan Cady. Dibril Morissette fan and Jan Basildua. That could be Jan. I don't know. Um,
We're struggling
that
with
middle
names
name
today,
was,
guys.
yeah, that middle name was rough. It starts with a DJ, so that's a bad start right there for me trying to pronounce it. This is the one that has all four of the members we're getting. I believe the versions we're getting, although we don't know which Red Guardian we're getting yet. Takes place in Russia. This Crimson Dynamo is the leader of the team, but White Widow and Red Guardian are they go to Russia to find some stuff, and you don't really know what's going on until close to the end, so I'm not going to tell that. But the Winter Guard is sent out to stop them and to capture Red Guardian, who's wanted by the Russian government. So there's lots of interactions there. There's a traitor in the midst of the Winter Guard. Lots of twists and turns that I definitely did not expect. There's a character that shows up that Brandon in particular will love that he's there.
I'm intrigued.
And
I normally don't pay
it's
attention
good.
to this section, but I'm intrigued.
It's only like 5 issues. I think it's fully out on Marvel Unlimited now. If it's not the last issue, whatever it is, 5th issue, I think, should be in any day. Like, I'm pretty sure it's all out. Good series. I very much enjoyed it. The Crimson Dynamo specific thing, and I knew that there was more than one Crimson Dynamo over the years. I did not realize quite how many there have been. But I wanted to make sure I found the correct Crimson Dynamo. So this is X-Men vs. Avengers Volume 1, which came out in 1987. Creators are Roger Stern and Mark Silvestri. And this series is Asteroid M, at least a piece of it, crashes in Russia. The Avengers show up to arrest Magneto. The X-Men show up to protect Magneto. And Crimson Dynamo's there to get the rest of the Winter Guard, which he's not a member of. And they're not called the Winter Guard in this series. They're called Soviet Super Soldiers. Yeah, I remembered. He's trying to get them to get revenge on Magneto because Magneto sank the sub many years before, or big fights break out. It's pretty good. It's got X-Men and Avengers in it too, so it feels like an MCP game, honestly.
All right. Well, as always, I'm sure that all these recommendations are on Marvel Unlimited, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, if you guys are interested more in Crimson Dynamo, or you're like me and don't know too much about Winter Guard or the characters in it, you can check those out and get yourself a little bit of backstory and flavor for these characters. But why don't you go ahead and take over, Fred?
Yeah, so today I'm bringing a very special movie that I've watched recently, and that is a movie called RRR that is currently streaming on Netflix. Now, most of the time when I bring one of these recommendations, it is, it's something that I like, that I really enjoy, and that I want to share with other people. Well, this time, this is a required watching for everyone. I expect you all to have watched it by next week, and I will be setting out a quiz that I will be judging. This movie is the most fun that you will have watching a movie in a very long time. What this movie is, this is a 2022 Bollywood movie that was it came out, and it is just exceptionally fun and visually stunning. it was directed by S.S. Rajamouli, who is a famous director in Indian cinema, and it is. There are very few movies that make me want to stand up and scream "yes" as loud as I possibly can at the screen, and this is one of them. You've got to watch this. Uh, it is a 3-hour movie,
Oh,
and
wow.
it could have been another. It could have been 4 hours, and I would have watched it, and I would have enjoyed it. Your eyes just cannot move away from the screen. So, uh, that's it. Watch RRR. It is currently streaming on Netflix.
To make this, what are we calling this section? What kind of recommendation?
Fred's non
Non
sequitur.
sequitur.
Non
Yeah.
sequitur recommendation. More of a sequitur recommendation. I recently saw that in an interview, they asked the director if he would consider doing a Marvel movie. And his answer was a very polite version of I have my own style and I would hate to do a movie in the Marvel style.
Yeah. Yeah, and he clearly has his own style,
Yeah.
and his style is entertaining and good. Highly recommend.
All right, well, we probably won't have any list recommendations this week because we need to know just a little bit more about the Taxes cards and stuff before we kind of create lists and rosters for this guy. But
Have I ever
I've
not had a list?
Created rosters.
did you really, even with what's going on?
Well, not really. No. I mean,
Oh.
mine was more
Fred,
of a.
I was excited to hear yours. You wouldn't tell me before the cast.
Well, I was trying to figure out ways that I could build his list without and obtain his affiliation bonus without having any of the other Winter Guard, and the answer is take him with Winter Soldier, and that's the entirety of your list.
Hey,
RRR has an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb and a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
8.1 on IMDb is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
That's so high.
It's very high.
I also had a list.
well,
Would
Bob,
you like to hear mine?
is it played in Winter Guard?
Same with Winter Guard.
Yep. Yeah, there it is.
I have a real list because I always am the only one with a real list.
Well, go ahead.
I actually think he fits in really well with a very specific list that someone here came up with. That was not Fred. That was definitely not Brad because there are not mutants in it. It wasn't me. I think he fits in really well, Jared, in your criminal syndicate list. That is Kingpin and Shadowland Daredevil.
Look at that. All right.
I think his place will help you with Kingpin, and his disruption field is very dual purposed, as well as his Matrix alloy, allowing him to stay alive, allows him to play very well with Kingpin, and then the being able to reroll 2 dice plus your affiliation dice is pretty good with Shadowland Daredevil, if I don't say so myself, plus getting the attacks, the Beam 5 and homing rockets allows him to kind of be a backfield piece, which we talked about the other night that you were kind of, looking for. So I think he fits really well in that roster. So
Look at that.
we can.
I'm sorry I doubted you, Brandon. I thought with this new character we wouldn't have anything, but
It's the only thing I'm prepared for at this point, so I have to stick with that. The rest of that roster, for anyone curious, Kingpin, Shadowland Daredevil, was Black Cat, MODOK. You're gonna have to help me out here, Jared. Your list.
who did you sub Juggernaut?
Yes,
who you subbed?
that's who I would have subbed. Yeah.
So the list would be Bullseye Hood, Killmonger, Kingpin, Mysterio, Shadowland, Daredevil, MODOK, Black Cat. In Brandon's roster, it would be Crimson Dynamo and then Lizard. So I actually did play 2 games this week against Porco with that list, and I played it to good success. I played it to decent decent success and actually relied on Borkus dice to shit the bed. That's probably what happened.
Borkus dice have he's played 5 games this week and had some rough dice rolls in a lot of them. So
Hey guys, I just had some breaking news. It's not MCP, but it is Marvel. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Andrew Garfield has signed a massive deal with Marvel Studios to return as Spider-Man. Details are still to come, but this insider has heard of 3 films that they're gonna make a Secret Wars film, an Amazing Spider-Man 3, and then some other.
And that's with Marvel Studios.
I don't know that part's accurate.
the Secret Wars makes sense.
Marvel Studios, it should be Sony.
Yeah, I would prefer it to be Marvel Studios instead of Sony.
But it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case.
Sony made those Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, and it made all 3 of those films.
I know, but like, are they gonna like? I feel like there's a lot of fighting, like infighting going on with like what. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of all of it. I just wish that.
I do love me some Andrew Garfield, so more Andrew Garfield's good in my life. So
Sony also made Morbius.
Yeah, they made the good Spider-Man movies, and then you're right. They also made Morbius.
There's a difference between those movies. Sony made Morbius with no oversight from Marvel Studios, and Sony made the Spider-Man movies with Marvel making the final decision on everything. So,
if there was a Secret Wars movie, Marvel would be involved. So
yeah.
I like the collaboration idea. Seems I like that world where we have a collaboration. So I would enjoy that.
All right, well, that wraps us up for this week. Looking at Crimson Dynamo, thank you guys so much for joining us, and let us know in the comments below and stuff. Are you excited for him? Do you think he's good? Where would you rate him? We'd love to hear from you guys. So until the next one, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.